What's going on, guys? My name's Miller, and in today's video, we're going to go over all the deals, all the news that happened in Major League Baseball yesterday. But before we get into that, make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new. Helps me out a ton, lets me know you guys want to see more content like this. And comment down below what you guys think of the deals that happened yesterday. So much news happened, so why don't we just get right into it? I'm going to go by how they went down yesterday, kind of chronological order, a little bit, because a lot of news happened. So the first deal is Andrelton Simmons signed a 1-year, $10.5 million deal with the Minnesota Twins. And I like this deal for the Twins. They needed better defense, absolutely. And even though Andrelton Simmons isn't really a high offensive player, like he's not going to hit you a ton of home runs, he never really has a high slugging percentage. He's definitely worth the money they're paying him because of the valuable defense that he brings. And they don't really need an offensive player like that. They're known as the Bomba Squad. They already have tons of high offensive players that hit for low average and tons of home runs. So Andrelton Simmons is kind of the opposite of that. He plays good defense. He does hit for a high average most of the time, or a high-ish average, I should say. He hits anywhere from 270 to 300 with a pretty good on-base percentage in the mid-300s. But like I said, doesn't really hit for much slugging percentage, so his OPS is usually low, and his OPS plus is never really above league average. But still, an outs above average, which is a defensive metric just measuring, it compares you to other it compares you to other people at your position in the league. And we're gonna ignore 2020 for right now because Simmons had an ankle injury and didn't play for most of it actually. And his defensive metrics and all of his metrics were bad in 2020, but like I said, that was because he's injured. So in 2017, he was 99th percentile in outs above average. In 2018, he was 97th percentile in outs above average at shortstop. And then in 2019, he was back in the 99th percentile in outs above average. So that is about as elite as it gets. And I expect him to definitely get closer to that than he was in 2020. Like I said, he was injured. He was only in the 20th percentile in outs above average, but it was only a few games played. That means really nothing to me. I do expect him, and he's only 31, so I don't think the glove is going to completely fall off a cliff. And I think he's definitely going to get back up to that 90 to 95 percentile in outs above average, which is a huge improvement because Jorge Polanco, their former shortstop, who's going to move over to second base, is one of the worst defending shortstops in the league. So now that the Twins have Simmons at shortstop, Donaldson at third base, and Byron Buxton over in center field, one of the best defenders in center field, they have elite defense in three positions there, and it's going to be a huge improvement for their pitching and their defense as a whole. So I like this move a lot for the Twins. Do I think they're better than the White Sox? No. They still need some more pitching. They still need to re-sign Nelson Cruz. Not sure why that hasn't happened yet. But I still do like the Twins. I think they're going to be a wild card team. So the next deal that happened is Marcus Semien signed a 1-year, $18 million deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. And here's another deal that I just do not really understand at all. A lot of people are praising the Blue Jays. They think, they got a good player, and Marcus Semien is a good player. He was obviously third in MVP voting in 2019, but every other year he's been below average offensively, and he's a terrible defender. Maybe moving over to second base, that is the plan for now. He'll get better. I don't know. It just doesn't make all that much sense to me. They already have a really good offense. What they need is pitching. And this does help them. Then this means that they can probably package a couple of their guys, whether that means packaging Rowdy Tellez or Teoscar Hernandez or Lourdes Gurriel or Randall Grichuk. One of those four guys is probably going to be on the trade move, maybe more than one of them. They're going to be packaged in a deal to go get some pitching. I hope so anyway. If I were a Toronto Blue Jays fan, I would say, go out and get some pitching. Don't just hold all this offense together. Still, I like the move. So Marcus Semien's going to go to second base. Bo Bichette's going to stay at shortstop. And then Kevin Biggio is going to play third base. And I don't know why they're moving Semien to second and Biggio to third when they can just put Semien at third and leave Biggio at second. It makes sense when they're going to be able to move some pieces for some pitching. But still, I don't know. I think Marcus Semien's a little bit overrated in my opinion. But I'm going to flash his baseball savant numbers from 2019 when he got third in the MVP voting and when he was terrible in 2020. And you can see the huge difference in the numbers and the expected numbers and the exit velocity. The only thing that hasn't really changed is his outs above average is terrible either way, which he's not a good defender. Everyone knows that. Maybe at second base he'll be a little bit better. But I do expect him to fall somewhere in the middle there. He's not going to be as good as he was in 2019, but he's certainly not going to be as bad as he was in 2020. So the Blue Jays basically signed a 1-year, $18 million deal for a league average player, I would say. But still not bad when they can trade some other guys for some pitching. The next deal that happened is Freddie Galvis signed a 1-year, $1.5 million deal with the Baltimore Orioles. Basically, he's just replacing Jose Iglesias, who they signed to a couple-year deal last year, who they shipped to the Los Angeles Angels, and who replaced Andrelton Simmons. And Freddie Galvis, he's just a below-average player in general. Not very good defensively. All of his baseball savant statistics, I'll flash them now, are below average in the bottom quarter percent, in the bottom quarter of the league, which obviously isn't good. It's not what you want. And his best OPS plus season was in 2019 when he had a 92 OPS plus, which is still 8% below league average. So it's only 1 year. It's only $1.5 million for the Baltimore Orioles. It makes sense. You know, they needed a shortstop, so it's kind of a stopgap between that and some of their prospects. But still, don't expect much out of Freddie Galvis. He's going to hit some home runs, but he's going to play below average defense and hit for below average statistics compared to other Major League Baseball players. So this video doesn't do much for me. The next big deal that happened, and easily the biggest deal of yesterday, was the Phillies were able to re-sign JT Realmuto to a 5-year, $115.5 million deal. And that's just a big deal because it breaks Joe Mauer's average annual value contract from the Minnesota Twins by $100,000. So basically that means that Realmuto is the highest paid catcher annually ever. He's gotten the biggest AAV that a catcher's ever gotten, and he's definitely deserving of that. Realmuto is a freak athlete, and he is 30 years old, but he hasn't been playing catcher his whole life, so I don't think he's going to age that poorly. And he's easily the best offensive catcher. I'll show you the expected stats now. But if you notice, he's also elite defensively. He's in the 95th percentile in frame rate, and he has in 2019, he had the fastest pop time in Major League Baseball. And pop time, it's kind of self-explanatory. Basically, it just means it's the time from when the catcher catches the ball to when they release the ball to throw a runner out at third or second. So JT Realmuto's pop time is tops in baseball. So he's elite at throwing people out. He's elite at frame rate, and he's also really, really fast for a catcher. He's 84th percentile in all of Major League Baseball in sprint speed, which is incredible for a catcher. So he can steal you bases. He can hit home runs. He's going to hit for average. He's also elite defensively. He's just an all-around amazing baseball player, and the Phillies desperately needed to re-sign him. The problem with the Phillies is that they're in the National League East, and the National League East is probably the most competitive division of baseball right now, with all 5 teams looking to be above average teams, and they're all going to be really good. I think any team in the National League East would beat every team in the National League Central, which is just unfortunate. I think the 5th place team in the National League East, even though at the end of the day they're going to have a worse record than the best team in the National League Central, I think all in all they're still a better team, which is unfortunate. Basically, the NL Central or the NL East, basically someone has to get 5th place, and it's going to be unfortunate for whichever team does. But I think the Phillies are probably a 4th place team right now. I think they were a 5th place team before they signed JT Realmuto, but the Phillies can definitely change this. If they go out and get some more relief pitching, maybe get another starter, Jake Odorizzi, then they could definitely be better. I still don't see them beating the Braves or the Mets or even really the Nationals right now. The Nationals are still sneaky good. They obviously have a great pitching staff, and they have better offensive players. They got Josh Bell, they got Kyle Schwarber. So the Nationals, I would say, are definitely better than the Phillies as it stands right now. But the Phillies can change that. The next deal is Cesar Hernandez signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Cleveland Indians, who he obviously played for last year. I'm not going to say much about Cesar Hernandez. He's a good player. He hits for high average. He's decent defensively, but what the hell are the Cleveland Indians doing? If you're going to sell pieces, they've traded away tons of pieces in the last year and a half. Obviously, they traded away Mike Clevenger, Carlos Carrasco. They traded away their franchise player in Francisco Lindor. I could go on and on. Why are you signing Cesar Hernandez to a $5 million deal? It makes no sense. Just tear it all down. I know they have good pitching, and I know the AL Central isn't a very good division, but stop trying to be mediocre and get into the playoffs. It's a bad way to operate your team. Tear it down. Don't spend any money if you don't want to, because clearly they don't want to. Tear it down, and then build it back up again. Make money that way, and then worry about the future. Stop trying to be mediocre right now. It makes no sense to me, and it pisses me off. You're either in or you're out. You don't want to be in that middle area. And I don't know why teams are voluntarily going to that middle area. Stop. Please. I'm begging you. Now that my rant about the Indians is over, Cesar Hernandez is a good player. Yeah, he helps them out offensively, but the Cleveland Indians offense is still terrible. So that's that. And then a couple other reported deals that aren't official yet, so they're not listed on MLB.com or anything like that. Uh, Tommy La Stella reportedly is signing with the Giants. We still don't know many details about that. We don't know if it's 1 year, if it's 2 years. We don't know the money. La Stella, I like the signing. It just gives them more options. He's probably going to play a combination of second base, third base, platoon with some guys. He's got some pop versus right-handed pitchers. He usually hits for a high average. He was injured in 2020, but in 2019 he definitely broke out and had a good year with the Angels and the Athletics. The Giants aren't. I think the Giants are probably better than the Indians maybe right now. They don't have as much pitching, but their offense is definitely better. But I think the Giants easily get third place in that division. Maybe if we have expanded playoffs, which I don't think we're going to, the Giants would get into the postseason. But the Giants obviously aren't better than the Dodgers, and they're definitely not better than the Padres either. So, again, this is another team where I don't really know where they're going. They have some good prospects coming up, but they're kind of in that middle area where you don't know if they're buyers, you don't know if they're sellers, and that's not really a good place where you want to be as a team. But they definitely easily get third in that division. They're better than the Diamondbacks, and they're probably better than the Rockies, even though the Rockies have some superstar players, more so than the Giants do. The Rockies are just the Rockies. They're not run that well. They never really live up to the hype. So I wish, if I'm the Rockies, I'm trading away Trevor Story and Nolan Arenado, but that's for a video for a different day. Like I said, I think the Giants are a third place team. Maybe they get into the playoffs if they have a really good year, but I don't really see that happening. I think most teams in the National League are better than them. And then last but not least, Masahiro Tanaka reportedly is going to sign back with the Eagles, his former team from Japan. And as you can tell, I'm a Yankee fan, and this hurts my soul a little bit. Tanaka, I think, is one of the most underrated free agent signings the Yankees have ever had. He's a fierce competitor. He's one of the best postseason pitchers in the history of the game. In terms of qualified innings pitched for ERA, he has the best ERA. After 2019, I should say. In 2020, he didn't have the best postseason, but he was one of the best pitchers in the postseason ever, period. He was so much fun to watch. He's a competitor. He pitched through elbow injuries his entire career with the Yankees, but you never saw it on him. He was always so much fun to watch. He had a 1.14 career ERA plus, which is above average, and for Yankee Stadium, that's really good. And he was a horse for the Yankees, really. He got injured a little bit at the beginning of his contract, but after that, I mean, he pitched over 1,000 innings in his 7-year career with the Yankees. And like I said, he's one of the best postseason pitchers ever, and everyone on that team loves him. So it just kind of, I can't believe that 7-year deal is already over. And I know the Yankees couldn't afford to re-sign him because they don't want to go over the luxury tax, and Tanaka deservedly wanted about $15 million a year. I mean, when you look at guys like Kluber, who got $11 million, and Garrett Richards, who got $10.5 million, and they haven't even really pitched all that much. So you can't argue that Tanaka deserved the money that he wanted. So he's going to go back to Japan, which sucks to see, but I'm kind of glad he's not going to be in a different major league uniform. And again, that's not official, but it's probably going to be announced here within the next couple of days. And then the last news that came out yesterday, and I won't get into this too much because I'm sure you guys have heard all about it, but no one was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame yesterday. And I just think it's a terrible look for baseball, and it pisses me off. I'm not going to lie. I don't like that they aren't doing it. I don't like that the baseball writers are turning in blank ballots. I think the steroid era happened. You have to acknowledge it. But guys like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, they were still the best of that era. And there are already guys who are suspected steroid users in the Hall of Fame. And besides that, I think there's definitely Hall of Famers on that ballot. And the fact that no one got in is just infuriating. It's a bad look for baseball. And baseball is just, they tend to do that. They tend to do what's not good for the sport, and it pisses me off. But anyway, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. That's your MLB news recap of yesterday. Stay on the lookout for more content. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss when every video goes live. Like I said, comment down below what you think the best deal is that happened yesterday. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. It helps me out a ton. And last but not least, my socials are going to be linked in the description below. And I also started a podcast with a couple other content creators called the Diamond in the Rough podcast. It's available on YouTube and Spotify. Also going to be linked in the description below. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a good day. Peace out.